welcome to this week's episode of the Hammer and Nail Show. Tonight, Jessie and I have a very special guest. Flyers long snapper Taybor Pepper is joining us to discuss his journey to San Francisco and a tweet that he put out a little over a week ago regarding the scope of the blocking responsibilities for the long snapper position. How are you doing tonight, Taybor?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good. Really good.
We had some technical difficulties, guys, so thanks for sticking around. Things don't always go as planned, so it is what it is. But Taybor, first of all, we're so happy that you joined. You just got married, my man. Like, what? What are you doing not being with your wife and out on a honeymoon?
Well, some sage advice from Robbie Gold told me to not do a honeymoon the month before camp because he's seen a lot of guys come back fat and sloppy and lose their jobs. So he put the fear of God in me, and I like my job quite a bit. So we'll be doing some grand honeymoon or two after the season for making her wait for so long.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How was the actual wedding? It was this last Saturday, am I correct?
Yeah, this Saturday, July 3rd. July 3rd. It was so awesome. I think how much time I spend on the internet, I see so many horror stories of things going wrong at weddings. I was kind of terrified that something was going to happen. Maybe an ex swoop in and try to burn our house down because it was in our backyard or something weird like that. But it was an absolute, perfect day. We had all of our favorite people there, and Haley is suffering from some post-wedding sadness, having all of our friends go back home and have to go back to real life.
Yeah, for sure. Was the best man speech good? That's the biggest question.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. And also her best friend Matthew walked her down the aisle and he gave a killer speech. All the speeches were great. Her mom, my dad, my sister as well. It was a really, really great time.
Perfect, man.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So one of the things that we kind of wanted to start off with was, outside of football, what other sports did you play, or maybe even when you started football, were there any other positions that you played before you became a long snapper?
Oh yeah, so I started playing football in second grade after I moved from Illinois to Oklahoma. And from second grade to I think sixth grade, I was a starting quarterback. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but whenever we ran fake left bootleg during flag football, it was almost a guaranteed touchdown every time. And the funniest thing is that my dad, it still kills my dad to this day. I said I wanted to stop playing quarterback because it was too much pressure. So a couple years later, I became a long snapper. Whatever sense that makes, I don't know. But my middle school brain at the time, that seemed to make sense.
That's funny. No, how did you become a long snapper? How did you transition from the quarterback to a long snapper?
So in about sixth grade is when teams started installing punt. Because, when you're younger, you're not playing real football where you have, all four downs. You kind of just transfer the ball back and forth if you don't convert. That's when we started punting. And so basically my dad was in camp with the Eagles in 1990, and he was just trying to stick any way he could. So he tried to pick up long snapping. Basically all he taught me was just do it with two hands. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I bet kind of using your quarterback skills probably helped a little bit. I used to play, not to toot my own horn, but I used to play quarterback when I was in high school and junior college too. And I was fortunate. I had an older brother who played, and he kind of taught me how to do it a little bit. But being a quarterback really helped me be able to throw that ball back between my legs like you have to do.
Oh, yeah. My instructor who taught me in high school, he just calls us upside down quarterbacks anyway. So
that's awesome.
That's funny. Well, Taybor, here's what's really interesting about your career to me is that you have been a fringe roster player for quite a while, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. At least from what I gather, you came out of Michigan State undrafted in 2016. Mm-hmm. 2017, you were on a practice squad for the Ravens and Packers before you eventually made the roster for a few games. 2018, I don't see any activity for you. And then back in 2019, you were able to make the Dolphins active roster after spending some time on the Giants practice squad. And then 2020, the 49ers had some gaffes at the long snapper position, and you were able to come in and take that job, and now you've got yourself a 2-year deal. That's fantastic, first of all. But the second thing is, or the question that I really have for you is, what is that journey like? How do you stay focused, disciplined, and also believing in yourself that you can make it happen when you're going through, all of these ups and downs throughout a career right when you're just getting started?
Yeah, I think one thing you touched on is kind of the discipline and staying kind of grounded. I quickly learned after probably during that 2018 season when I wasn't getting any action as far as getting on a roster. I had 5 tryouts that fall, but none of them came to fruition. One of them was actually with the 49ers. Funny story about that. But I finally learned, and I had a couple heart-to-heart chats with my agent, and she and I both came to the agreement that it's nearly impossible to keep a 4-day-a-week, even sometimes a 3-day-a-week workout regimen every single day with the uncertainty that the NFL brings. And it's all about knowing where you're at physically, mentally, and just kind of working around that. There's certain dates, there's certain times during the NFL, calendar year where you need to pick up on the training because, teams can call at these times more than other times. So I would say, let's say I was a rookie coming out of college, teams want to sign for OTAs, mini camps, and camp. Then camp happens. Then there's a spot within the first 3 weeks of the regular season where teams they will typically bring 3 to 4 specialists at each position, punter, kicker, long snapper, and they will fill out their emergency list for that season. That's one thing a lot of people don't know that they do. I was brought out to the Patriots about 2 or 3 times just to fill out their emergency list. A couple other teams I did that with as well. When I got signed to the Dolphins, so I was with the Giants all spring and then also into training camp. I got cut the very last day of training camp. When the Dolphins actually brought me out, I thought that was a workout to fill out their emergency roster spot. They ended up signing me that day. So I was shocked and floored, and I had a game in 5 days. I had no clue that was the plan, and you just got to be ready for it. Going back to during the season, if you're not on a roster, you get the emergency workouts early in the fall, and then towards December, teams will start to fill out their futures contracts. And a handful of long snappers will get signed to futures deals. That happened to me with the Packers in 2016 going into 2017, and then that also happened to me. I signed a futures deal with the Giants as well, 2018 going into 2019. Then you get a kind of a dead spot. Hopefully you got picked up for springtime, and if you don't, then each mini camp spot, and then going into training camp, you're hoping. But in between those times, you've got to know when you got to take your foot off the gas and give your mental a break. But you want to be prepared. You have to be somewhat prepared all the time. So it's a huge balancing act for guys who haven't made it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that you said was early on, and I know that you were half joking, but I mean, also very serious, that, Gold told you, listen, don't come back fat and out of shape because you may lose your job. And you've been through that. So that's a reality for you. And it really, one bad game as a long snapper, I would imagine that you can lose it right there. Right. And so that pressure, I can't imagine how you deal with that. Like how do you deal with that pressure, knowing that, hey, one gaffe and this thing's over for me?
I think being that guy who is in the stable waiting for someone to mess, you don't want anyone to mess up because that could be you, right? But my whole career, I've been in the stable. I've been that next guy. There's only 32 roster spots for long snappers in the NFL. Very rarely, there might be 1 or 2 teams with one on practice squad, but you have to be ready. And me being in that position for so long, I know better than anybody there's someone waiting to take my job. I don't want to say you get numb to it. It's always there, but like if you can't handle that pressure, then I don't know if you should be a specialist in the NFL.
For sure.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense, especially if you have to come in late in the game or if there's a pressure situation at the end. To be able to handle that pressure and come in and make that snap and make it perfect.
Right.
Uh, about a week or so ago, you had put out a tweet, about the block responsibilities of long snappers on punts, and just the whole scope of that. Could you maybe go through a little bit of that with us and kind of explain to us some of the things that maybe we don't understand or the other fans might not get about everything that really goes into your job besides just getting that snap perfect?
For sure, yeah. So what I'll say to start this off is that there are quite a few guys that are free agents right now who have NFL long snapping ability. There's way more than people would think in terms of getting the ball from my hands to the punter's hands, from my hands to the holder's hands. There's a good amount of guys who have that ability, but when you put that in the mix with the blocking responsibilities that we have, that list becomes way shorter. And that's what can give a lot of guys who are on rosters that job security that they need. So I'll say this, when I was one of the workouts, whenever I went to the Patriots, Joe Judge, who's now the head coach of the New York Giants, he told me, he goes, listen, you are in a great spot. I can see that you have blocking ability. And he's like, he even told me he knew where I was as a free agent. He goes, if you need to get a job, I'm confident that your blocking ability right now will enable you to earn a roster spot in the NFL. So if you need to go get a 9-to-5 job to support you and your family, go and do that, because there's a ton of kids, especially now if you look at college punt formations, kids basically have zero blocking responsibility now. It's a lot of the spread punt where there's 3 to 5 yards in between each player on the line. You snap it and you just run down the field. That's how I was in college. That's what we ran in college. The only 2 teams I know that still run a pro-style punt is Iowa and Alabama. So it's rare for these kids to get a lot of blocking work. The other thing that's super hard for long snappers developing from college into the NFL is that you barely get any reps to even practice it against a full rush. In certain OTAs, you can't make contact. And then if you get lucky enough to make it to a camp, you're probably competing against a starter, and you might get 2 or 3 second team reps, maybe twice a week. So your ability to progress, you have to make each snap and then the block after the snap worth it, or else, you're just going to get fed to the wolves. So it's really hard to develop as a young long snapper as well. Blocking responsibilities in general, we already start at a disadvantage. I only know of one snapper in the NFL that doesn't look between their legs the whole time that they're snapping. Jake McQuaid, he was with the Rams. I think he just got cut, though. He kind of has a neutral head whenever he's snapping, where he is kind of looking at the rushers and at the line. Most of us, the whole process, we're looking through our legs back at the punter. We can pick our head up to take a look, but we have to get our head back down to start the initiation of the snap. So we're already starting at a disadvantage. Our guards, our tackles, our wings, their heads are up. They can see if people are moving across the line. They can see twists before they happen. We have to start with our heads down, initiate the snap, and then get our head up while people could already be at our hip if they're good enough rushers. And that's just thing people don't think about. And, I kind of baited some people on an Instagram post I made about all, where that Walmart stuff came from. I was baiting people, and it's so funny, but they're like, people can't even touch you anyways. You have the easiest job in the NFL. People can't even touch you on punts, on field goals. That couldn't be further from the truth, because even if I'll tell you, on field goals, 9 times out of 10, we can still get our head smashed while our heads are down. And the refs will just say, I've yelled at a ref before. He goes, get your head up sooner. Like, if it's egregious, they'll call it. But 9 times out of 10, they're like, just get your head up faster. Then I don't know what to tell you. So, we're not getting all the calls that you would think we would get. I could go on for days about this.
Go ahead, please. Give us all the ins and outs.
Yeah, I mean, and then you think about it, depending on blocking responsibility, a lot of punt formations um, are similar in terms of the responsibilities. It's just different terminology from team to team. But if the standard punt rush is a 4x4, there's 4 guys on our right, 4 guys on our left. Depending on where certain people line up, they could be trying to attack the middle, or they could be trying to attack our wings. And, I'm not giving anything away that people can't watch film and see for themselves. There's different ways to attack the guards and the snapper, and there's different ways to attack, the wings and the tackles. There's all sorts of twists. There's all sorts of BS that can happen. And it can get really, really messy in there. And sometimes it's really hard if you have a really good rusher in front of you. Sometimes it's hard to just block a 4x4 straight rush with no twist, depending on who it is. Last year, I had to block DeMontre Harding on punt, and the this was at Seattle. I had to block him, and we were keyed in on him because he's such a strong football player in general, and he's so explosive and strong. And then that Tuesday, I see on Twitter that he got suspended for PED, so I screenshotted it and sent it to Hightower. I was like, "You owe me a couple beers or something, because this was not a fair fight between me and DeMontre."
Oh, that's funny. The other thing, though, too, is, I understand it. I mean, you're probably like closer to George Kittle's size than you are an actual offensive lineman. Am I right about that?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people think, they're like, oh, well, if so-and-so goes down at center, Taybor could fill in. I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I'm like 6'4", like 245 usually during the season. So I'm more of a tight end type size and some linebackers.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, let me ask you this. So you talked a lot about how hard it is to carry a routine, especially when you don't know what tomorrow holds if you're not on a team. But now that you are on a team and it looks like your future is going to be very bright with the 49ers, what does your weekly routine look like today?
So, normally some teams will do punts on certain days. Some teams will do field goals on certain days. We have a pretty good, steady schedule that doesn't change that much as far as what our responsibilities are during the season. The main thing that I'm still trying to figure this out, because it is a science, and week by week, depending on what kind of, bumps, bruises, and boo-boos you might get, it can change up your routine a little bit. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, even now when I get into the building, it's relatively the same. I mean, I'll wake up, get in my car, I'll order Starbucks on my phone, and then I can order breakfast from my phone to have at the facility. Then I'll drive to Starbucks, drive to the facility, get my weekly COVID test, grab my breakfast, eat, and then I'll put on my tub shorts. And we have a red light therapy thing. I'll do the red light therapy. Then I'll hop in the hot tub for 15 minutes, stretch a little bit, and then I'll throw my sweatshirt and my sweats on, stretch a little bit in my locker, and then I'm ready for meetings and then going out to practice. And then Mitch and I will usually, like lift after practice and stuff like that. And it's Groundhog Day, but I love that type of routine.
Yeah, for sure. What about game day and end game routine? What's that like?
Game day, it's pretty nice. Some teams don't have their training facilities like where their stadiums are, and I tend to like that more than teams who have like a stadium that's further away from the training facility, because you can just enter that same routine and nothing changes from a practice to a game in terms of getting your body prepared. I might warm up and stretch a little bit more than I normally would on like a practice day, but I can still come in 2.5 hours before the game, do my red light, do my hot tub, stretch, put my sweatsuit on, and then, listen to music or listen to a book on tape or whatever. And the closest thing to my normal routine that I can get, I'll do. And I think that's pretty, unanimous for specialists in general. a lot of guys are down to a routine. I know one punter in the league, his pregame warm-up is down to like 5-second increments in terms of when he starts and when he finishes. Each stretch is like timed out perfectly. It's pretty insane.
Well, okay. So I guess the one more question that I would have for you would be, last year being a COVID year and no fans in, what was that atmosphere like? Was that an atmosphere that you prefer, or do you prefer fans being there?
I kind of liked it because it seemed like it took. I don't know. There are pros and cons. It felt like those Saturday mornings when you're playing like Pop Warner and there's only 30 people in the stands anyway, and it kind of felt low key, kind of like a scrimmage, kind of not. People were locked in, but then we went to Dallas where it was like 50% capacity, and then you're getting that shot in the arm of the crowd noise, and you're like, oh man, this is football. Like, I miss this. But it was also nice at home games not having people heckling you on the sideline. Like, it was just little stuff. Like, I'm not going to say I prefer one over the other because both were like really, really nice, but it was definitely interesting. And I'll admit, going to Seattle and not having the 12th man there, I've never played there before. So my first game was a COVID game. And I know for a fact, as a specialist, I got spoiled not having the 12th man there in Seattle.
Oh, I'm sure your on-field job, I would imagine, has got to be a little bit easier without the fans there and without the crowd noise.
Yeah.
All right.
One of the questions I had with regards to the routine is, actually during the game, how does your routine go once the game starts? And I'm sure you're doing practice snaps at different points. Kind of how does that play out for you?
Yeah, so I started to figure it out with the help of Zach Diassi, who snapped for the Giants for a long time. We got to be together all off season and then all through the preseason. So he kind of helped me find my in-game routine, which I didn't really have one when I was with the Packers, and I was able to carry that over to the Dolphins as well. So typically, if the Niners are on defense, I'll have my helmet off and I'll sit down on the bench on the opposite side, which is usually where the specialists chill. And then when the offense has the ball, I will have my helmet on and I'll snap, to whatever feels good. And towards the end of the game, normally I have to put a little more oomph on the ball because at the beginning of the game, the adrenaline's going, body's super, super warm, ready to go. But yeah, it's all based on feeling. If I'm having one of those days where I can throw anything back and it's just ending up on Mitch's hip, I'll snap it a little less. And then on other days, if for some reason it's starting to float down towards his knee or whatever, then I'll have to like kind of hone it back in and find my spot and find my release point and stuff. It's really game by game. But yeah, that's usually, as far as routine goes, all I really do.
Okay. Yeah. And then what happens? How is it for you when, all of a sudden there's a sudden change in the defense? Let's say the defense gets an interception, returns it for a touchdown, and you've been chilling down on the bench. How does that work out for you?
So normally, depending on the play, I think you'd be surprised how much time we actually do have to get down the field and get ready, even if it is like a pick six or something. Depending on where Mitch is, I can usually grab my helmet and grab a practice ball. We can get one or two snaps down at the sideline that we're at if we're on opposite sides of where the scoring happened. And I can get one or two in, and that's all we really need. When I was in college, we were playing against Northwestern, and we were about to clinch our side of the division to go to the Big Ten championship. And we were at Northwestern in November, and it was so damn cold. All the specialists were on the heated benches with like the sweatsuits and the parkas on. And all of a sudden, Curtis Drummond picked off the Northwestern quarterback. And we're all on the bench, and we're going, "Don't score! Don't score!" we didn't want to take off the sweats and the parka. Like we did not want to. So I don't think he hurt us, but he did get tackled, and I can't remember if we scored on that drive or not. But like, God, we were so miserable. We were like, the last thing we wanted to do was take off our warm gear.
That's funny. That's a good one right there. Oh man.
I would never say that in the NFL, by the way. I would never tell somebody that. This is quite a bit different. We had that game locked up, so.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, one of the other things, kind of getting ready for this interview, I was looking a little bit, trying to get some information on you, and I noticed that you have a Twitch account, and that was one of the things that you're doing when you're kind of in between teams and whatnot. Are you still active on your Twitch account, and do you have a go-to game that you've been playing lately?
I haven't been streaming lately, but I do. I play some games here and there, and then I'm involved in a couple Twitch streamer communities that people know who I am, and sometimes they'll watch my games and stuff like that. But lately, I've been playing The Witcher 3, and then I've been playing some GTA 5 here and there. It's just pretty casual. Here and there. Is
there any other gamers on the team? Like, I know Sherman Games, he's got a crazy setup, and I understand he's not there anymore, but is there any other gamers on the team that you actually will play with or play against?
Yeah, it's funny. Some people have different qualifications of what makes a gamer.
Yeah.
Technically, when marketing people look at it, even if you have Candy Crush on your phone, to businesses, you're considered a gamer. So, I consider myself a more hardcore gamer, but George Kittle, I hear him all the time. He's playing Rocket League with Juice and a couple other guys, Charlie and Dwelly, and they'll play games. I know George loves Halo. He has the Master Chief tattoo. Other than that, I mean, a lot of guys, they'll play games like Fortnite, Warzone, here and there, but there aren't many PC gamers. A lot of guys are on console, but I don't look down on those who game on console like some other of my PC brethren do.
Oh, that's awesome.
What's your Twitch name so people can watch you?
Taybor Snapping. It's the same as all my other social media. It's just Taybor Snapping. I was really, really close to making partner on Twitch, but then I had to go out to camp for the Giants. I'm not too mad about it, but it was a goal of mine to get partnered, and I got really, really close. My last month I streamed full time. I averaged 160 viewers at any time, and that's really, really hard. I didn't have the big name being like OBJ or Kittle or something to kind of boost my viewers. It was really cool because most of my viewers, they couldn't give two craps if I played football. They just like my gaming content and my interaction with the community that I had. So it was a lot of fun while I did it. Maybe when I'm done with football, I could do it again. But yeah,
there you go.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a big Twitch community, at least with the on the SI side with Grant Cohn. He has a Twitch that a lot of the folks that watch our show actually get on it and play games with, and
nice.
that's really interesting stuff. So very cool.
Cool.
Before we let you go, Taybor, there is a couple fan questions trickling in.
For sure.
One of them is, who do you think is more excited for the season to start? You guys as the players or the fans?
Ooh. I don't mean this in terms of that we're not excited, but I couldn't imagine being a fan and not getting to go. People had 2020 season tickets secured. I couldn't imagine kind of getting teased like that for so long. I think the entire league and all the stadiums they're just going to be electric this year. So probably the fans.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was the main one that kept coming up. So I had to ask.
I am so excited to see the fans. I can't wait because there were a couple fans in against the Saints in New Orleans, and then there was a decent amount of fans when we played in Dallas. And even having 25% and 35% capacity, it was a huge just ball of energy that was able to kind of swing a little bit. And I've never been able to play for a team that travels as well as San Francisco seems to, but holy crap, even in Dallas, it was so loud. I would think it was 50-50 fans in the stands were 50-50 49ers and Cowboys fans. It was nice.
That's crazy. Josh Mangold asks, have you seen Trey Lance? I'm sure you've seen him. He's a teammate, but what are your thoughts on him?
I'm not a quarterback guru, and I also don't call the shots for the front office. So he seems like a really nice kid. I've talked to him a few times. Like the first time I met him, I was like, "Hey, man, my name's Taybor. Nice to meet you. You never want to see me on the field." And he gave me a look. I was like, "I'm a long snapper," and he's like, "I got you." I was like, just for 1 point or 3 points, like either one, but you don't want to see me very much. But he seems like a really cool kid. And, he gets along well in the locker room, and I'm excited to see what he does.
Well, don't play coy. We know that you could be the backup quarterback if needed, Taybor.
I would just need enough time to bend over and throw it between my legs. I'm pretty sure I can long snap further than I could actually throw it. So that's actually not even that big of a joke.
That'd be awesome. Have you drop back and then bend over and wing a deep out route.
Oh man.
He just starts basically, it's like center to center. Center snaps it to him and he just snaps it straight back out downfield. It's perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Taybor, thank you so much for joining us, my man. Again, we know that you just got married. We know the season is upon you. Definitely want to wish you good luck. Very happy that you have found a spot with the 49ers. You've got a couple years with us, bare minimum. So very excited about that. Very excited about the season. And just good luck to you, man. I really appreciate it. This was fantastic.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And the 49ers, the faithful have been super, super welcoming. And I'm sure you guys see my rapport with everybody on Twitter. And I just like to have fun. And I would just like to remind everybody, I do take my job very, very seriously. Some people think that football players having fun on social media means that we don't care enough about our jobs, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I take it very seriously, and having someone like Robbie in our special teams room, he keeps me grounded as well. We have a jar. If I get too ornery on social media, there's a fine jar. And Mitch isn't even on Twitter. I'm pretty sure his account is hacked. So I'm pretty much the only person that would have to donate to that fine jar. I just take it on the chin. I was like, you're an old man. You don't know how to have fun on social media.
Yeah, it's funny as we're waiting to get started with this, and we're having the technical difficulties. I was mentioning to Jessie that there's just something about long snappers that you guys seem to have. It just seems like you guys all have great personalities and just really like to have fun and you get after it.
We don't have much else. My best man told me I outkicked my coverage during his speech. I was like, yeah, it's hard to argue. If you make girls laugh, when people laugh, they close their eyes, so they have to look at you less. So that's our thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
There you go. Well, we wish you the best of success this year. We can't wait to see you on the field in just about a month now, and definitely hope to talk to you again down the road.
Of course. Appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much for this.
All right. Thank you very much.